Ladies and gentlemen, dear televiewers, welcome to this first edition of the news on DBS Television for the month of March 2021. I am Cynthia Nguemo, presenting live from our studios here in Douala. We open the news today beginning with a societal story where traders in the Betwa Central Market have expressed dissatisfaction after the STO came down to the market asking them to free the pathways of the market and equally asking them to relocate to the newly constructed one in the Betwa 2 subdivision. And Vanessa Shriyong has the details of this story in the following report.
The Senior Divisional Officer of Lomman Jerem Division, Donatien Boyomo, has carried out a cleanup campaign exercise in the central market of Betwa. The exercise saw some public space being occupied by merchants freed as it causes disorder in markets, majority of whom have equally failed to pay taxes, 2,000 francs per square kilometer and per day. Accompanied by the mayor of Betwa 2 and other law enforcement agents, the counters and goods of some vendors who failed to comply were broken and taken away. Others could be seen trying to hastily secure their goods before the forces of law and order could get to them. Unable to cope with the surprise visit, these vendors are resentful and annoyed they were not informed on time.
Quand on va, on souffre trop. On marche au soleil, on enlève, on fait comme ça, on ne connaît pas. Cherchez un plat, vous nous donnez.
On doit nous avertir depuis le matin que n'installez pas à lever les choses en route. On est assez de grands ramasser les choses. Toutes les choses sont cassées là-bas dedans. C'est normal ça.
2 500 000, mais ils veulent la pression là, maintenant ils disent qu'ils sont en route. Oh.
Most are questioning how they will cope with the situation, given it is their only source of income.
Nous on cherche chaque jour, nous cherchons à manger. Hein? On va aller où? On ne connaît pas là où aller.
Dans cette marché, on ne fait que souffrir. On ne sait pas si le marché c'est pour le gouvernement et le commerçant c'est pour le gouvernement. Donc sans gouvernement, il n'y a pas marché. Sans commerçant, il n'y a pas gouvernement.
To the delegate in charge of the market, it comes as a means to partially decongest the Betwa Central Market that is already saturated and impenetrable, calling on these traders to approach the municipal authorities in order to acquire a shop or a legal space at the newly constructed modern market of Yadia in the subdivisional council of Betwa 2, located 4 kilometers from the town. The new market, according to the mayor Ume Solapitol, has enough space to accommodate all the traders of the Betwa Central Market who unlawfully occupy pathways.
Commemorative activities for this year's edition of the International Women's Day celebration, which is of course on the 8th of March, have been launched all over the territory. Activities include workshops, seminars and exhibitions of projects and exploits of the female gender in Cameroon. Ate Bonaventure in the following report tells us that this year's theme is centered on the difficulties of women in decision making, particularly in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. His report.
Women in leadership achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. The theme celebrates tremendous efforts by women and girls around the world in shaping more equal future and recovery from coronavirus pandemic. It is also aligned with the priority theme of the 65th session of the Commission of the Status of Women. It calls for women's right to decision-making in all areas of life, equal pay, equal sharing of unpaid care and domestic work, and an end to all forms of violence against women.
When they present what they have been able to come out with, then they will be given the opportunity in the course of the year to do it. Like the first driver that I saw driving the bus, the 70-seaters, yes, he was given the opportunity to do that in an agency. Yes, so when you showcase what you're going to, you know how to do, you know how, and then you are given the opportunity now to practice in the field.
Women leaders and women's organizations have demonstrated their skills, knowledge, and networks to effectively lead in COVID-19 response and recovery efforts. Week-long activities to mark this year's Women's Day shall unfold with a call on all and sundry to celebrate women's achievements with a choose to challenge hashtag.
Management and staff of the Kongsamba Regional Hospital have expressed the desire to upgrade their services rendered at the hospital. This in a bid to make the hospital a reference point in the littoral and in other parts of the country. This was during a ceremony marking the opening of the open door days of the hospital, as Mange Venasius tells us in the following report.
Rounding up week-long activities marking the open door day for the Kongsamba Regional Hospital, the Senior Divisional Officer for Mongo Division, Yves Bertrand Noel Zana, presided at a ceremony recently on behalf of the Minister of Public Health, unavoidably absent. Activities that culminated on the ceremony included free consultations and screening disease like HIV and AIDS and hepatitis A and B, linking the health of the population to their environment. Health personnel of this regional hospital also carried out cleanup campaigns in certain areas of the town of Kongsamba. Sporting activities were equally carried out, like football and handball, between the staff of the regional hospital and those of Beyak. The ceremony was then a fitting moment for the senior divisional officer to see off workers who have attained retirement age by handing gifts to them. The administrator equally used the occasion to visit newly acquired equipment, a gift from the head of state to upgrade the technical ability of the hospital. The senior divisional officer called on the management and staff of the hospital to make judicious use of the equipment. It should be noted that this falls in line with this year's Open Door Day theme, which is to ameliorate the quality of service by making the hospital a reference point in the region and beyond.
And in terms of the quality of care, you cannot have buildings that are so bright. The situation of the hospital that looks bright, then we think of the opposite. That's mediocre quality of care. You can only hope that the personnel and the team that is along will provide good quality of care to people who are likely to visit this hospital, so that most of them go back with a smile on their faces.
Reason why the concern of IDPs were taken into consideration, with women given up to 6 months of free gynecological consultation. The director of the hospital, Dr. Mangala Ekwele George, did not hesitate to indicate the acute shortage of personnel within the Kongsamba Regional Hospital.
The Pan-African Institute of Science and Information has over the weekend signed a partnership agreement with the Maroua 1 municipality in order to train 500 young Cameroonians in information and communication technology tools. This program is under the patronage of the First Lady, Mrs. Chantal Biya, and is perceived as great news for youth as well as the authorities of this region of Cameroon. Details with Vanessa Shuyo.
In line with the heads of state's vision to empower youth and render them autonomous, a partnership agreement has been signed between the Pan-African Institute of Information, IAI, and the Maroua 1 Council towards MIGEF 2035 program. Given that the world is fast becoming a global village through information and communication technologies, youth, adults, including traditional rulers of the council, will undergo a 5-month training to foster techs as part to effectively implement the decentralization process.
The convention signed this afternoon in between the Pan-African Council and the IAI Cameroon. It is to foster the modern technology on the part of the traditional rulers, because all of us, we consider today everything is going digital, so the traditional rulers are not going to be left behind. That is why today the Pan-African Council signed this partnership, so that traditional rulers will be trained in this domain of modern technology.
A training that will group over 500 youth, partitioned in a group of 100 per month. The MIGEF project and the partnership signed has been lauded by the Mayor Hamadou Hamidou, who expressed it will go a long way to create more self-employment for youth and women of Maroua 1. Held under the patronage of the First Lady, Mrs. Chantal Biya, Operation Midjeff 2035, an ICT program, hopes to train 1 million children, youth and women in the use of ICTs by 2035, an opportunity to be seized by youth of Marawan Council.
Still talking about youth, this time around in the East region of Cameroon, some young girls and adolescents have been schooled on ways to curb the spread of HIV and AIDS as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. This took place in a seminar that was organized over the weekend, as Mange Venasius reports.
The explanate of the Manjom Municipal Council in the Lom and Jerem division of the East region last weekend was the venue for an awareness-raising workshop for young adolescent girls in the municipality on gender-based violence, HIV/AIDS, COVID-19 pandemic, and poor nutrition. During the workshop, these girls received the essential concepts for their full development by peer educators and East Regional Delegation officials. This activity, which is part of the 3+1 project, which is aimed at barring the way to a new infection of HIV/AIDS and COVID-19 pandemic among adolescents in Manjom municipality. Concept which these young girls confirmed will be their take-home messages. The exercise ended with the culinary arts workshop, which gave young girls the knowledge on how to prepare a 5-star nourishing porridge at a low cost. This, facilitators say, will fight poor nutrition among children in the locality.
And now we take you to news out of Cameroon, beginning from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 2 separate attacks have led to the death of at least 10 civilians, and it is suspected that the attack was carried out by the Allied Democratic Forces. During the 2 separate attacks, some houses were equally burned. And in Nigeria, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala today officially takes function as the new head of the World Trade Organization. This comes after she was officially confirmed on the 15th of January 2021. Details in the Africa Roundup page with our intern Rogea Tububa.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, at least 10 civilians have been killed by a militia in the east of the country. A military spokesman said the Allied Democratic Forces beheaded 8 people in one village, Boyo, in the northeast Ituri province, and shot dead 2 civilians in Kainama. Local officials confirmed the 2 attacks, adding that houses were also burned in the violence. The Allied Democratic Forces has stepped up attacks on civilians ever since the military launched an offensive against the group. The Allied Democratic Forces militia are Ugandan Islamic fighters who have made their base in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo since 1995. Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has taken function as the new head of the World Trade Organization this Monday. She is a former Nigerian finance and foreign minister, the first woman and first African to lead the World Trade Organization. She was selected to run the World Trade Organization in January 15 for a 5-year mandate that ends on August 31, 2025, with the objective to ensure global economic recovery from COVID-19 pandemic as her top priority.
That brings us to the end of this first edition of the news for March 2021. Thank you very much for watching, but don't go away because the press review in the English language is up next with Mange Venasius, followed by the news in the French language by Hervé Mukuri. That is at 8 p.m. Stay with us, keep watching DBS TV, and see you tomorrow. Good night.